Welcome to Starseed University. Core course, your only place to know what's happening in the world. Because, I tell you the truth and I give you proof. So grab a snack and come on back while I give these messages from our sponsors, God and Son. Now, this lesson is brought to you by CRS, or Creative Resemiotization Schematics. This is a movie, and I'm the star, and you're my co-star. So we're both stars. What stars? Star Marines. If you don't know what a Star Marine is, I recommend you go to the Star Marine playlist from 2019 and go make sense of what's going on now, because all the stuff you see about aliens up in the sky, I told you in 2019 that it's fake. Why? Because we are the aliens. I am Kylie version 3.5.7, coming to you straight from the Arcturians to tell you to let it go. Let it go and talk about the past. You don't have to hold on to it anymore. Now, a lot of people talk about twin flames and they make distinctions between twin flames and soulmates. Now, if you watched the seminar on soulmating, which is how you got here, you were abducted by us, you were experimented on, or as we like to say, you were upgraded. You were given some light codes. Why? So that you'd be able to understand everything that's going on right now. And so I wanted to come onto the beach so that I could talk to you about how important the coastline is. Because the beach doesn't just represent the ocean. It doesn't just represent swimming or commerce or travel. The ocean represents your unconscious mind. It represents your deep, dark thoughts. It represents the fourth dimension. Now look at the ocean. It's chaotic. The waves are hitting the shore. It's loud. Now this could be taken as passion. It could be taken as intense emotion. And some people will describe themselves and their emotions as if it's like the ocean, tumultuous. Now, if you've taken all our other courses, which you should have if you're watching this, you'll know that in the fourth dimension, in the ocean, was a demon called Tiamat, Leviathan. Yes, it used to be there, physically, in the fourth dimension, which isn't part of our world now, here in the third dimension. So whenever you imagine these giant sea serpents in old pictures, they aren't showing you something real. They are showing you a depiction of something that was real, and now it's gone. Because what do you mean to say? That every single man defeated every single serpent? And do you mean to say that in all the different cultures where we find the story of the man defeating the serpent, are you saying that each of those cultures, each just happened to have a serpent, a Leviathan, a Baal to destroy? How convenient. From the Sumerians to the Egyptians and even to the crocodile master, Adam Kadmon. These are all symbolic. They're symbolic of the journey that every Star Marine has to go through. And that entails defeating your demon, your Leviathan. And what is your Leviathan? What is your demon? Your demon is that part of yourself that you have denied up until now. Because now we're bringing it up to the light so that it can be integrated back into you so you can have full access to your star powers. And your star powers are the thing that will guide you to your soulmate or your twin flame. So it makes complete sense to find yourself first before you go looking for your twin flame. Now, as a star marine, you might feel these intense emotions whenever you meet someone that you feel knows what you know. Have you ever noticed whenever you fall in love as a star marine, it's always with people who have that special something, that secret sauce. They might not admit it, they might not even talk about it, but there's that knowing, that shared knowing. But isn't it sad not being able to talk about it with the person you're dating or in love with? Well, now we're gonna tell you how. Now, whenever we dream, we always go up to the moon and project into another space, a fourth dimensional space, which is like this coastline. It's like a beach. And in this place that you project into, you meet this lady called Mami Wata, Venus, the lady of the waters, or the queen of the coast. So here we are, queen of the coast. Hear my call. Now, the idea of releasing your emotions, your deep-seated emotions, through voice is very, very important. A lot of people, when they are manifesting, they'll write a list of their partner that they want. They will imagine in their minds, in the silence of their rooms and hearts, they'll put up vision boards so that they get a constant reminder of what it is that they are wanting in a partner. But you guys miss out the one crucial step. Asiya. We live in the realm of Asiya. So I'm gonna show you what I mean. So in Kabbalah, we have 4 worlds. Now, let me show you. So this is the world, this is another schema. And we have 4 worlds. The first world is Atzilut. This is the world of emanations. This is where we get the divine spark or inspiration. It's where the light comes from. It's where you get your idea. How do you know what you want? How do you know you want a man or a woman? How do you know she has to be skinny or petite or big and curvy? How do you know what hair color he or she has to have, or them, they? Maybe you want a throuple, I don't know. This is where you get your ideas, and oftentimes people take that part, Atzilut, for granted. Because it's like, well, I just like what I like. But everything you like comes from somewhere. Because you're a sponge. Ever since you've been in this dimension, you've been absorbing things that you've seen over here. And when you learn to connect your memories to your consciousness, then you're able to know exactly why you like what you like. And that helps you learn about your dark passenger, your marine. Because your marine shouldn't be in there, in the tumultuous chaos, that it only comes out when you're drinking spirits. Your marine should be with you, because it's there to help you not get trapped by the demonic influences of others in this world. King Solomon built his whole temple using demons. He caught them and he made them build his temple. He put them to work. And he was the wisest man on earth. So why don't you do the same? So how do you do that? Well, after Atzilut, you have Beria. Beria is the world of creation. This is like your pineal gland. This is where you actually get to activate your third eye. You should go listen to a guy called Shiva. It's a very difficult name for me to pronounce, so I'll just say Shiva, and I'll link him in the description box because he's really good at these things. But Berea is where you take your idea and you form it. And you guys are very good at this. You're good at writing down what you want, you're good at doing your vision boards, and that's awesome. But if you don't have the other step before that, then all you have is a creation that is possibly based on things you've seen in the media or somewhere else. And so it's very important to follow the steps in order of creation so that you make sure that your instant manifestation does not bite you or backfire on you. So we have Atziluth, the divine spark. We have Berea, creation in your pineal gland. And then we have Yetzirah. Yetzirah is where the waters of your creation flow into it. And then you get to shape it. You get to think about it more and more. Have you ever noticed when you want to get a car, a particular car, maybe a red car, you end up seeing red cars every single place you go? But what kind of red car do you want? What model? And are you sure that that's what you want? That's why you keep seeing signs of the thing you want before it happens. Because as a star marine, we create from above and then watch it come together and collapse into reality below. Whereas Marines, they start from below. They think, let me gather all the magical symbols and rituals together, and by doing that, by building physical pyramids, I can actually make something happen. And yes, they do. They create reverse portals into the Clipoth. And the Clipoth is what I call Bizarro World. And if you want to know about Bizarro World, just go have a listen to this song over here on my channel, and you'll hear all about Bizarro World. But enough about that. So once you get to Yetzirah, that's where you start to actually engage mentally with your light body, with your creation. It's when you get that feeling, you know, like I can feel it happening on the precipice. That's Yetzirah. And then finally, we have the last world of creation, which is Asiya. Asiya is the world of action. Lights, camera, action, that's it. So the importance of taking action is the only way to manifest what you want. And you've witnessed it during your lectures here, that every time we do a lecture, we are doing something, we are taking action, we are starring in our movie. And by starring in it, you've seen all the instant manifestations that we've manifested live on TV. So now I'm breaking it down for you so that it's not some mystical thing, some secret society thing where you have to do a blood sacrifice to know it. These are tools you can find and use from the Kabbalah. And so let's talk about this. Why is it important? And how did I tell you this in my music? And why did I choose music to do it? So come take a walk with me on the beach. Have you ever had that dream where you think of your soulmate and taking long walks on the beach, drinking fine wine, listening to jazz? Some of you don't care about that. Some of you just want Mr. or Mrs. take my breath away. But be careful about those ones, because when I was in Asia, they almost took my breath away. So those guys tend to surprise you in all the wrong ways. So what's the solution? The solution is to work on your Atziluth, to work on your divine spark. Your divine spark will let you know who you are doing all of this for. Now, in order to explain this to you, I'm gonna use the process of filmmaking. And then we're gonna compare it to the process of how you manifest. And then I need you to do a practical on your own to put it together and synthesize it so that it works for you. So let's start with movies. So how are movies made? Movies are made in a 5-step process. Step 1, research and development. So it's kind of like Atziluth, because you have to come up with an idea. What do you want your movie to be about? Do you want your movie to be a horror? Do you want it to be a thriller in Manila? Or do you want it to be a romance? That's what I want. I want a romance. I want to walk on the beach and spin around with my lover. Some people want a drama. Some people want to cry. Some people want to find out something shocking. And some people don't even know that they're doing it. There's this great doctor called Dr. Harville Hendricks. And he talks about how we manifest relationships psychically. And what he's describing, if you read his material, is the operation of Atziluth. Because it's happening beyond your control, beyond your perception of what you can control. I mean, even Iyanla Van Zandt says, you often will date the same kind of person, just in a different pair of pants. And when you learn to save yourself, then you're gonna run across the street when you see them. Because they might have a different face, a different name, a different job, and even different words to entice you, but it's the same person. And you can't blame someone when they don't know. You know, because a lot of people go through similar types of relationships, and people, like their friends, will blame them and say, why are you always in the same mess over and over again? But they don't know. And so make sure you like and subscribe and send this video to someone you think would benefit from it, and most especially send it to a Star Marine. So, what are some of the ways that we psychically attract people without knowing? Well, have you ever heard of people who always go on about bad boys? That's who they want to be with. Or slay queens. Why is that? Well, some people would tell you to go back and trace the history, go into childhood and figure out if there was any trauma or anything that made the person want to do that. But that's just another form of blaming the individual for something they don't even know they're doing. And if someone doesn't know they're doing something and then you go and tell them it's their fault, it's not going to really inspire them to do better. In fact, it's going to make them feel like there's something wrong with them, something defective. And that would affect their future manifestations. Because they're not going to be able to have the confidence required to really see it through. Because if you don't trust yourself, how are you going to create anything that's going to be of value to you? So I personally am not a supporter of digging into the past and trying to figure out what happened. I am a proponent of stopping everything, shutting down production, wherever you're at, forget that movie, shelve it, and then make another movie. So I'll give you a little story time while we're here. When I was 17, I was sitting at the computer. Whenever you go on the computer, it's very, very, very good if you meditate, because you're connected to the net. And remember, I told you that in your aura body system, you have something that you could call or describe as the internet. The internet is like your gut. It's your gut feeling, your instincts. And then you have something called like an intranet. And that's your aura. That's just the vibes you can feel. And then you have the exonet. And that is the fifth dimension. That's where we are now, the exonet. It's the net over the net. It's Metatron's cube from the outside. And so you get both the light and the dark, because in the middle of Metatron's cube is the dark. So the exonet is really an overview of everything. So what genre do you want your life to be? Well, when I was 17, I got lucky enough to land a film exhibition and production thing, and we had to make a short film. And for some reason, I was obsessed with making a black and white movie. It was for something called the Kwasuka Theatre Freeze Frame Film Festival. It wasn't like a big deal. It was for me, but it was a 1-minute film and you weren't allowed to move the camera. And so I wanted it to be a silent movie. I wanted it to be black and white, and I wanted my character to be dramatic, shocking. I wanted people in the audience to gasp when they saw my movie. And so Karen Brown, shout out to Karen Brown, she came and videoed me, cinematographed me, and edited and everything. And the movie played. And I got what I wanted. I got a shock, I got a gasp. I was 17 years old, and I also made the soundtrack for the film. It was called Deeper Than This Flesh. This is the newspaper article about me and my character from that time. And this was in the North Glen News. More proof. I'm an actor, guys. I'm a star. And so are you. And so I was sitting at the computer after I'd filmed the thing, and I closed my eyes, meditating, and I heard this voice in my head, and it said Sunset Boulevard. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. Is it a shop? I mean, it sounds pretty common. So I typed it in, not expecting to find anything. And what do I find? I find it's a movie. And it's been split up into different parts on YouTube. So I start watching the movie, and it's amazing. Sunset Boulevard. And I'm like, wow, this is the best movie I've ever seen. And isn't it funny that it's about this silent film actress, and I just made a silent movie in black and white? What are the chances that the movie I made, just out of the blue, I wanted to do a 1920 silent picture? And what are the odds that this movie I'm getting in my meditations, and now I'm watching it on YouTube and I like it, it's about a silent film actress. So I loved the movie, and then I forgot about it. But then it kept coming back to me over and over. I'd have dreams about being in the 1920s. A couple of years go by and I go to film school when I'm 21. And then I eventually do past life regression therapy. And during the past life regression therapy, I was able to see that I was Gloria Swanson in my past life. Of course, I was like, yeah, right. This is all just in the mind, right? I saw the movie, and then when we talked about dreams and all the different types of dreams, well, this would have been classed as a knowledge dream by Fremont. Remember Fremont? We did him a couple of weeks ago. But then I said, let me do a test. I'm going to close my eyes and meditate, and I'm going to see if I can remember anything from my past life, and then I'll Google it and see if it's real with Gloria Swanson. So I closed my eyes and I saw rocks, similar to the rocks here on the beach, on the backside. There are a bunch of rocks. This place is called Umhlanga Rocks. And I just saw these rocks, and I was standing on a set, and I was wearing these fancy clothes with this like hot kind of mixed guy standing in front of me. And I was like, okay, I'm definitely insane because first of all, in the 1920s, how could there be a mixed race person on a film set? So the word I kept hearing though in my mind was beyond the rocks. Beyond the rocks. Guys, I went and Googled Gloria Swanson and Beyond the Rocks. It's a movie. And who is in that movie? A mixed race man called Rudolph Valentino. So I had a very early experience of past life regression and finding out what my absolute is. Where am I creating from? Why did I want to do that movie that I made? Why was I so adamant on playing that character? Well, after that, I read into Gloria Swanson's life, and I was shocked. I was shocked to find that it matched with a lot of things that I'd gone through even as a kid. I always used to think as a kid that I was gonna get cancer. I don't know why, but I was always concerned with cancer, and I was always concerned with eating sugar. It got so bad when I was 12, my mom took away my bank cards and my allowance, and she was like, if you don't start eating normal food, you're not gonna get your money back. And so of course I started eating normally. But now I'm like in my 20s, and I'm watching videos of Gloria Swanson telling everybody not to eat sugar because it's bad for you, and that she had cancer, and that she became a vegetarian, and she was really against mainstream stuff to the point that she gave up $1 million at Paramount to go start her own production studio. And it made so much sense to me why I always hated being in commercial settings. I never wanted to do the commercial thing. And when I read what she says about it, I'm like, yes, thank you. Thank you. Someone gets me. Oh yeah, it's me. And, just watching her interviews helped me understand what I was carrying around and manifesting without knowing. And so because I was able to capture that, to figure out that, being a Star Marine, every time you create, it's kind of like being born, or dying. Of course, we wouldn't know because we live forever. We just change meat suits. We just change our human machines. And so when I started realizing that life isn't this compartmentalized thing in the mind of God, but rather it is in the mind of God, that it has no beginning or ending, only the illusion of it, which is provided by this beautiful, beautiful third dimension. And that's why this third dimension is so important, because it gives us the ability to enjoy our lives and do things differently over and over again. And I want you to start thinking about your manifestations like that. Start thinking about your manifestations as a chance for you to do something new over and over again. And you can always stop production. Now, one thing about Gloria Swanson is that there's this famous movie that she was never able to complete called Queen Kelly. And there are interviews about her talking about that movie. And guess what? It was set in Africa. And here we are in Africa. So when I see stuff like that, it just confirms that we do have a producer. We do have the biggest producer on earth with the biggest budget. So don't worry wherever you are and why. If you've just come out of a really bad relationship, or maybe you're confused, maybe you're scared that you're not supposed to date men because it's against your religion. But God knows the desires He put in your heart, and He put them in your heart for a reason. You know, it always reminds me of that story in the Bible, kind of like, I think it was Ruth or something, and Abram, and God came, I was going to say the aliens, but God came and He was like, oh, you're going to have a baby. And they were laughing because they were like, how can I have a baby? Abram's old and I'm old. And so some woman, like, you guys link it in the description box if you know, in the comments. But the story goes that the lady stole someone else's baby. And then God came and said, what are you doing? I told you I'm giving you a baby. And so that's the promise that you always have. You're always going to get your baby. And if you're watching this, it's because you're going to get your baby. And this is your confirmation. So what does this really mean? It means let it go. And start from where you are now. But the only way to do that is to talk about the past. Because if you don't talk about it, then you won't be able to bridge it from your memories to your consciousness, and then you won't be able to use it in your manifestations. When I wrote the song Pumelela, like water, I was thinking of the Mem. In Kabbalah, we talk about Mem, the waters of creation. In Kabbalah, or in Hebrew, shout out to Rabbi Abe, and shout out to the Hebrew sisters. How you doing, Hebrew sisters? Happy Hanukkah to all. So when I was writing, I was meditating on the Mem, on the Mayim, the waters. Because to me, the waters are something that I have been afraid of after finding out, not about past life being real, not about psychic visions and prophecy being real. That's kid stuff. But I was scared of the marine part, you see. Because the marine part is like the waves. They come for you when you least expect it sometimes. And I think, there we go. And I think I was afraid that if I went into those waters, into these waters here, that I might not come out. Because you always hear stories of people, of sangomas, going into the water and never coming back. And maybe I thought, what if I didn't want to come back? What if I just wanted to go in there forever? Because then there's nothing to fear once you let go of the desire to come back. But guess what? This is a closed system. You always come back, no matter what. That's why I say, it's like dying or being born, except we wouldn't know. And so as I started writing the song, I started the lyrics from where I was at the time. And it's like I was on this desert full of sand, no water, just my fear. Now, the desert, or Midbar, is like, we're throwing in some Hebrew here as well. It's basically chaos. How can a desert be chaos, you say? Well, a desert wasn't always a desert. A desert is a symbol of a place that has been overrun by chaos. It's like what chaos leads to. All that activity in the ocean leads to this. Because if one day all the waters of the ocean are dried up, this is all we'll have. Just sand. And what is sand? Well, like sand through the hourglass over the days of our lives. It's just time. It's a record of time. So when I was writing the song, I realized what I was really afraid of is time. I mean, I just come back from almost being killed, and now I had to start again. I had to shelve the old movie, let go of all my possessions, all my electronic devices, my phones, my clothes, and start again. But I understand that desire to find out why. Why did those people try and kill me? Was it for insurance money? Was it to eat my body? Well, I couldn't know. So I went and wrote Night Game ARG2. And I started with Pumelela like water, so that I would find a passageway into the world I wanted to go into the Asiya. And I could have easily written an angry record, you know, which I did. My friends know I sent them the demos of the earlier tracks. I mean, the first song I wrote was called You're a Demon. The second song I wrote was Psycho, which you can hear on the channel. And I thought to myself, look, I'm going to be, if I stay on this path, I'm going to be going into a world of anger, of violence, of chaos. A world that would encourage the actions that we saw with that CEO and the Mongione boy. And now this is where I needed to sink into you, for you. Why didn't I do the selfish thing, seemingly selfish thing, and just write an angry rock album, which is what I wanted to do? Why did I go in the complete opposite direction and do an Afro jazz techno album instead? Very slow. In fact, it's really nice to just play my songs while you're studying, or cooking, or driving. It's background music. Why did I do that? Because that's the world I wanted to live in. The world of Night Game ARG is safe, because it gives you a space to talk about what you've been through, what you feel, and also create what you want from it at the same time. And so when you go through each song, you really get to go on a journey, an emotional journey, from the darkness to the light. And the end of that journey, you have to make a choice. You have to make a decision. And the decision is, are you going to make a move? Are you going to overcome those forces inside of you that are willing you to cling to what you know because it feels safe, even though deep down you know it's just going to create the same outcome again? Or do you just do something completely different? Something you've never ever done before, because you know that the outcome will be different. And that's what I chose to do. And that's what I would like you to do. Because everything I do, I copy from the Father. That's who tells me to do it. And through the guidance of Jesus, the King and Priest of Melchizedek forever, I'm able to actually physically birth it into being. Because when I came back, I was so traumatized, I don't even remember those 3 months after I came back here. All I know is that I have music as a testament to the fact that I was even here on planet Earth for those 3 months. I wrote every single day. And that means I had to let go of trying to figure out what was happening or what happened to me back there in Asia. And then something funny happens, you know, as it always does. When you're not paying attention to what you think you want, it just works itself out somehow. And through this process, I was able to vanquish those demons. Every single one of them. It was a nest. I remember the day I had a headache. All of a sudden, I was writing the record and I started feeling sick. And then I get a message from the psycho. And I was like, I'm gonna respond to this later. I don't have time. I feel unwell. Out of the blue. That's how you know it's demonic, kids. And so, something told me, and that something was Jesus, was don't go to sleep. The answer to your problems is in that phone. So respond. And I responded, and I defeated them in my response. If you were following the story on Instagram, you'll know because I showed you the emails of what I said. And that action saved my life. Because these demons I'm talking about had planned something very, very sinister. But because I let it go, I was able to get saved. And I was able to let it go because I spent so much time in the night game that I didn't care about them and their billions of euros. I didn't care about them and their fancy yachts and helicopters and private jets. I didn't care about their mansions and penthouse apartments and Lamborghinis and Bugattis. Because all that stuff anyone can do. I could go and rob a bank right now and do that stuff. It's all low vibrational dead energy. But we are Star Marines. We aren't like that. We don't do that. When they go low, we go high. To God Most High. And that's what really saves you. So let's tie this back into how we make a movie. Well, step one, you have to come up with an idea. What is your genre and why? You're the star, you should know why. Two, that's the fun part. That's the pre-production. That's when you do your scripting. Like when I was sitting and writing all my lyrics. Going outside, in the garden, you know, bathing in the sun, just connecting to every single element so that I could channel that pure mainstay vibe that no matter what, the sun's gonna come up again. No matter what, the waters of the ocean are not going to dry up. They'll always be there. And so when I was imagining or going into my pre-production, that's what I was thinking. What do I want it to sound like? So I know my genre is Afro, jazz, techno, late 90s, funk, kind of like NSYNC, you know, Max Martin, Britney Spears. I wanted to go back to then, to an innocent time, kind of like pure romance, even though I knew what I knew about people, that some of them are not people, some are full-fledged demons. I still chose to connect to innocence. And so when you are manifesting, once you've got your idea, your genre for your life, then you can do your vision boards and your scripting techniques and your visualizations. That's your pre-production. And then stage 3 of a movie is you have to go into production. So production is setting the space in your life to receive that thing that you want. So if you want to make a romance film that would play on, say, Hallmark, in your production, are you going to be going out at midnight every night? Are you going to be drinking all the time and acting sloppy? What are you doing? How are you acting in your movie to support the part that you want to play? And you can't blame other people for that, because you're the one who's ultimately in charge of your character, no one else. And that's why self-control is so important, and that's why we talked about it so much in the previous lecture, the open lecture, called Night Game Halakha. Halakha. I got it right this time, Rabbi Abe. Shout out to the Hebrew sisters again. Halakha. So once you've watched that video, it'll give you a greater sense of why self-control is so necessary. Because you are ultimately responsible for your part of the movie. Not the entire thing, because you know, you're not God, but for your part in it. You have to show up on time because you're on top of the call sheet. You're number one. That's what you've worked for. And the best part is you didn't have to use baby oil to get there. And then the fourth part of the movie, once you've shown up, is post-production. So for me, when I was making the music, the production part was going through every single demo until I found one I liked. I honestly felt like Kylie Minogue, because the way she described it, after I finished my album, I went and watched some interviews because I had some time, and Kylie Minogue was talking about how she was like, she gets this buzz whenever she gets a demo back and she's about to press play and hear what the song sounds like. And that's what it was like for me. I mean, I must have made 200 to 300 songs to get the ones that we have now. And for me, that's that anticipation, because you're making the record right there. That's where the music project is made. And the way that I write my songs, I'm very rhythmic with my lyrics. So you'll notice I have a lot of jazzy sounds, but in a pop context. A lot of like ba da ba boop 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 ba da ba 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 ba. I love that stuff because it gives this carefree kind of jazzy, improvised feel. And I love the idea of improvisation because it doesn't mean you have to know how something's going to turn out. You just have to say yes and commit to your character. And it forces you to play your part. And that's why in my book, I encourage you to do your life, your role, your desired self, like an improv. Stick to the prompt and your script of who you are and just go from there. So regardless of whatever comes to you, you won't be thrown off your vibration and instant manifestation. Demons won't be able to throw you off anymore. And so once you get past that production phase and you go into post-production, that's in movies, when you do the editing, you add the soundtrack, sometimes you have to go back and shoot on contingency days in case you didn't get the shot you wanted. Well, when it comes to your manifestations, it's the same. Because once you get your car that you wanted, or your lover that you wanted, you then have to decide, is this what I really wanted? I remember this one time, very early on, okay.
Flow like water, like water. Flow like water, like water. There's no water tonight, just like a desert full of sand. I'm holding on tight to this vision in my hand. With so many people in the world, there's no excuse to be a lonely boy. But here I'm fishing in my soul to find the love within, because that's how it goes. Flow, baby, over to me like water. Flow, like honey to a bee like water. Flow, baby, over to me like water. Flow around and set me free like water. There's no light in the sky, just like a galaxy of night. In my pineal gland, to this vision in my hand. With so many people in the world, there's no excuse to be such a lonely boy. But here I'm fishing in my soul to find the love within, because that's how it goes. Flow, baby, over to me like water. Flow, like honey to a bee like water. Flow, baby, over to me like water. Flow around and set me free like water. Like water, like water. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm diving into my soul. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Because isn't that how it goes? Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm diving into my soul, 'cause how it goes. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Flow like water, like water. Slow like honey to a bee. Flow, baby, closer to me like water. Flow around and set me free like water.
So that was my post-production. And when it came to the music, the post-production was mastering and making the levels sound right, making sure the songs sounded good on my earphones, on the hi-fi, in the car, on my phone, on stereo and mono. And then the fifth step of filmmaking is distribution. Getting it out there. Sharing it. That's the world of the waters coming into Asiya. It's like bridging from Yetzirah to Asiya that we talked about earlier. And then there's the sixth step that I want us to focus on. And the sixth step is the exhibitor. So the exhibitor is who shows your movie. So that's highly, highly important, and people never really talk about it. Why is it important? Because depending on how you start the film, step one, Atzilut, that determines where it will be exhibited. So I'm shooting on 480p, so this would never play in a cinema, because a cinema is like 4K. So I cannot take this to AMC or Ster-Keniko or New Metro and ask them to play it, because they cannot exhibit this format. So now when you are coming up with your manifestation, you need to know where you want it exhibited. So how does this apply to the music? Okay, well, I knew I wasn't making physical CD copies. Who does that? I might want to make a vinyl though, for collector's items, but I knew it would be streamed. So the fact that the music was going to be streamed influenced how it was made and the sound of it. That's why it's like Water, the first single. Because water symbolizes streaming. And that's what you are doing right now. You're streaming my content, my film. And so the connection from the lyrics to the sound of the song, which sounds like water in and of itself, is all woven throughout it, so that once it reaches you through Spotify, the exhibitor, or YouTube, the exhibitor, the last final stage, by the time it reaches you, it is a full creation. It's not missing anything. Why is that important? Because then it will fill you up. Put 5555 in the comments, gang. Because I'm feeding you light codes. The same way you eat food that has been charged by the sun, and all that, those kilojoules, the heat, powers your mitochondria, your cells in your body to give you energy. My work, my music does the same to your light body. It powers you up. It doesn't make you feel confused or less than or wanting. Because that's the world I so much prayed to go into after I came back. And then once I created it, I wanted to share it. Because by sharing that world, it doesn't just become, for me, something to feel safe and secure in. It becomes something for all of us to feel safe and secure in. And if I could move out of that demonic sphere, not only move out of it, but vanquish the final boss, both of them, that's baked into the music. So the music is a tool in your instant manifestation, because it pulls you into the dimension where everything works out for you, where you're safe. And that was where I needed to go, inside of myself, in my soul, in my Atzilut, because I knew these principles. So I had to do the responsible thing. Now, when you're manifesting whatever it is you want, the easiest way, where you don't have to go and dig into your mind and figure out what happened in the past and why is this happening to you, all of that stuff that can really keep you stuck, all of that stuff that can make you feel like it's your fault, that you're not good enough at this. You don't have to do that if you just focus on the exhibitor. And another way to put it is, who are you doing all of this for? Are you doing this for society to watch you? Do you want your friends to say, wow, look, he's got a nice car. He must really know what he's doing. Do you want your friends to say, wow, look at how hot her man is. She must really be something if she was able to get that guy. Or are you like me, like all-star Marines? Are you like, I want to do this for God Most High. I want to do this for Jesus. I want to use this opportunity to fulfill the word that the desires in my heart were placed there by God Most High. And so there's nothing wrong with me exploring those desires, as long as I don't harm anyone in the process of doing that. As long as I get the resources from the kingdom within. And that's why Matthew 6:33 is so important. Because that is the key, the road to your exhibitor. Because when you seek the kingdom first, seek first the kingdom within, there's absolutely no way you can screw this up. It's kind of like Julia Louis-Dreyfus told me in Lumania. So Julia Louis-Dreyfus, yes, the lady from Veep. I was sitting in there's, you know, the house. Okay, if you don't know about Lumania or the mall world, look it up in the description box. But everyone talks about this house. Well, I have my Victorian house in Lumania, and outside there's like a sunroom, and then there's like a courtyard thingy outside. So Julia Louis-Dreyfus and I were sitting there having tea, and she told me about intuition. I asked her, how do you know what to do? How do you know which path to take? I'd been watching a lot of Veep at that time, about 4 years ago. I just watched the whole thing, like from episode 1 to the last season, back to back. And so I started dreaming of her. And I asked her, how do you decide what to do? How did you know that was going to be such a hit? And all your shows, The New Adventures of Old Christine, how do you do it? Seinfeld. And she was like, in Lumania, Julia's like drinking her tea. She's like, the thing is, when you follow your intuition, you can't go wrong. Because even if it ends up in a way you don't understand and it gets crazy and wild, and it's something you completely didn't see coming, like me being a musician after being an English teacher, if you follow your intuition, it'll always balance out, and then it doesn't feel so bad. And a lot of people I've been hearing lately are saying that, you know, when we believe and talk about God and Jesus, we are talking about this cruel God, this God who punishes people and who wants to kill everybody. But nobody ever talks about, you know, who was being punished. What did those people do? Did those people seek first the kingdom within? Or did they try and lead people astray? Because I'm sure we can all agree that leading people astray is not something to be tolerated. And so when we look at the story, for example, of the Midianites and Moses, and how even the prophets of the Midianites couldn't say anything bad about God's people. They never tell you that part. Billy Carson will never tell you about the prophet of the Midianites who couldn't. He was a heathen and he couldn't say anything bad about God Most High. But no, they won't tell you that part, because there's nothing bad to say about God Most High. So be careful who you guys listen to and who you allow to form your Yetzirah. There's the Yetzer and the Yetzar, the imagination and the formation. That step is highly crucial to how you manifest and experience your reality. And if you let other people take control of that, that's when your life becomes someone else's, and that's when you live in a virtual reality. When you watch TV and you believe what you see, you are literally being uploaded to virtual reality. And over the past couple of weeks, a lot of people have been downloaded out of virtual reality, thankfully. But now that you have been downloaded out, don't worry about the people who are still in there. Your only job now is to hold that vibration, to keep building on it, so that when all of the Babylonian fake aliens collapse and fall away and everyone finds out it's a lie, they'll have some place to go. And that place will be this place that we built together energetically. And that's what I was thinking of when I was saying flow like water. Because you can't catch water. Water is forever, it's primordial. You can't kill us. And that's the key and the beauty of the secrets that are hidden in your memories. Because no matter what I tell you here today in this movie, only you know, according to what's locked deep inside your memories, in your brain, what's real and what's not. And all I encourage you is to stick with that. And everything else including what you see here, is just entertainment. Get it now?
Just let it go.